Hello there, thrill seekers. So the other day, well, not the other day, a week ago or something, I was in Las Vegas visiting my nephew. And he likes to talk weird stuff when he talks, so he just brings up odd ideas in conversation. And he started asking me, if there was a drug that could make you live forever, would you take it? And he was really taken aback when I didn't immediately say yes. I was kind of like, well, I was kind of, I mean, the answer was no, but I didn't want to just come right out and say no. And this is a question that has come up a number of times in my line of work, which I don't know if you're surprised by that, but I am. It's come up several times since I've been writing books about Buddhism and teaching Buddhism and going around, doing all that stuff. And sometimes the people who ask the question are really, really disturbed by this idea. Like they genuinely believe that there is a drug or something, some therapy or something in the offing that's going to come out soon that will make people live forever, and they're either elated by the idea, like I think my nephew was, or they're really, really disturbed by it. And I do occasionally come across this myself, so I know that this is really out there. I've seen it come around. There might be people living right now who will never die. They'll say, because they'll come up with some new way to make sure you never die. First off, if you just think about it for a few minutes, I think the absurdity of this becomes pretty clear. The best thing you could possibly do, in the closest thing, let's say, maybe not best, because that's a value judgment, in terms of creating a drug that keeps people from dying forever, keeps people alive forever, would be you'd come up with a drug or therapy or something, who knows, that halts the aging process, so you don't age anymore. Now, that wouldn't necessarily make you live forever if you just didn't age anymore, because there's no drug that's going to prevent you from getting in a car accident or drowning or falling off a building or being involved in a terrorist attack, or that's going to prevent a war from happening that might, take your life. So it doesn't guarantee you immortality. It just would arrest the aging process. And I don't even think that would be possible, because to arrest the aging process, you're talking about halting time itself in the internal, within the envelope, within the skin bag, as Dogen calls it, of the human body, halting time from occurring within that space while time proceeds outside of that space, which is just, I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. But even if you pretend it might happen, there's all sorts of nightmare scenarios I could come up with along that lines. It's maybe from watching too many Twilight Zone episodes or something. Like somebody gets the immortality drug and then ends up, quadriplegic and encased in a box or something horrible like that. So the immortality drug doesn't sound like a good idea to me. Besides which, I'm not sure that death is the absolute worst thing that can happen to a person. I would agree that in a lot of scenarios, death is the worst thing that could happen to you. Like right now, death is probably the worst thing that could happen to me. Or, well, who knows? But there's probably worse things that could happen to me. But it'd be pretty bad if I just plopped over dead right now while making this video at at an age that most people don't die, and so forth and so on. Okay, so we got that. Because death is part of the change that occurs as things progress through time. I once asked Nishijima Roshi what he thought. It was a weird question. I don't know where we got on this topic, but we used to have conversations, and most of them would be initiated by me, but I'd go over to his office and I'd have these weird conversations with him. And I don't know how we got on to the topic of the death of John Lennon, but I said something like, what do you think John Lennon felt when he died? And he said, I think he probably felt relieved. And I just thought of that at the time. Nishijima Roshi at the time was a a very old man, so, and he wasn't actually, as it turned out, too many years away from his own death. I'm trying to guess when it was, about maybe 10 years before he died or something, when he had this conversation. But he must have understood that death is a kind of a relief for a person who dies. You can see it in a lot of cases when people die. Death is this great unburdening of a lot of things that they've been carrying around. And furthermore, the subject of reincarnation is a tricky one, and every time I try to address it on this video channel, I feel like I mess it up. I never get it right, so I won't get it right here either. Now, Nishijima Roshi, as I've mentioned before, if you've watched this channel enough, you'll know, did not believe in reincarnation. Well, let's put that differently. He publicly espoused a non-belief in reincarnation. Every time somebody would ask, do we get reincarnated? Is there rebirth? He would say, no, this is a superstition that stems from Hindu religious beliefs that was grafted on to Buddhism later, and it has no place in Buddhism. Forget about reincarnation, forget about rebirth. Having said that, he was a proponent of Dogen, whose work is full of cases of people being reborn and reincarnated, and it happens throughout Shobo Genzo and throughout his other writings. And there's even an essay called Doshin, which Nishijima Roshi, I think, translated as The Will to the Truth. I think Heart of the Way is how Tanahashi translated it, I'm not sure. But it's Heart of the Way would be a more literal translation. Do is way, like the way of Buddhism, the Tao of Buddhism, and Shin is heart, so the heart of the way. So that's a literal translation of it. Anyway, in that essay, Dogen goes into the actual mechanics of what happens between between death and the next rebirth. It's very short, and he doesn't go into tremendous detail, but he goes into enough detail that it's hard not to get the impression that he believed it. You might explain this as saying this is a traditional belief in his time, and he's just using it as an example of something else, because his main point in the essay does seem to be that how important it is to revere Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And he goes through this whole thing about the process of dying and being reborn, saying that even as this process happens, you should be chanting praise to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Those are the three treasures or three jewels in Buddhism. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Dharma is the teachings of Buddhism, and Sangha is the group of people who follow Buddhism. And it seems like he's using this example of the after-death state as the most extreme thing he can come up with. You should praise Buddha, Dharma, Sangha all the time, including even after you die, right? So, coming up with a really extreme example. Even so, it certainly sounds, when you read it, or when I read it anyway, that he believes this. So, that being said, sorry for the long aside. If you believe in reincarnation, then the most natural thing for you to do is to die and then go on to the next phase of whatever is supposed to happen to you. And like I say, I always mess this up and give people the wrong impression, because there's no you that gets reincarnated, and I don't want to go into that rabbit hole. But suffice it to say, I've gone into that rabbit hole in other videos and in books and things. If you want to go look at what I've said about that there, you can go look. Anyway, that would be the time to let go of this life and then have whatever comes next. To want to not die, to me, like to want to be immortal as Brad Warner, would be like trying to, I don't know, live forever at age 17. If that was possible. I would not want to be 17 years old forever. I wouldn't want to be 57 years old forever. I can't imagine any age at which I'd want to take this immortality drug and then live that age forever, especially if it's 97 years old or something crazy like that. I don't think I'd want to live forever as a 97-year-old. So that was my take on that. And I really, for those people who worry that this is going to happen, because you can think of all sorts of terrible things that would happen if human beings became immortal, because of course it wouldn't be distributed equally among the world, and there would be certain countries where everybody's immortal and certain countries where people just die, and there could be all kinds of chaos, and of course overpopulation would become a problem, and etc., etc. I don't think there's any legitimate worry that that's going to happen, although the life expectancy may continue to rise. I'm starting to wonder if we may have reached the limit of human life expectancy already, but that's just me, and I'm no expert in that. But I don't think it's a worry that there's going to be an immortality drug. I just think if people are worried about that, just stop worrying. It's not going to happen. But you can. There's a lot of things you can worry about if you want to worry about things. So if that's your jam to worry about, then go ahead. That's fine. Anyway, I just thought I'd do a little video rant on that subject because I thought it was interesting. If you want to contribute to me making more video rants, you can contribute to the URL you're seeing on the screen right now. That is my only way of making a living these days, and I really appreciate your support. But if you're having if you're having financial troubles or difficulty, or you just don't feel like paying, just don't pay. Don't pay. Don't leave me a comment in the comment section saying how annoyed you are that I'm asking. Just don't pay. This is for free, but I do appreciate your donations because that's how I keep things going. See you later. Have a good time all the time. Bye. Hey Ziggy, you enjoying the couch? Yeah, you don't feel like coming outside today? All right, buddy. Stay inside on the couch.